as I would regard myself as most informal, okay? You're going to learn the most if we have exchange, okay? So, typically, if we're not on camera, as an instructor, what you would do is you would find me walking among you, okay? Because I have a lot of eye contact with you, and by golly, you're going to be here for 3 hours and I'm not going to let you fall asleep, okay? This class is as much a business management class as it is anything else. We're going to have 5 different modules or 5 different sections. Each section has a purpose. The first section is going to be on management style and management philosophy. So we want you within the next 3 weeks to try to discover who you are, what your strengths are, and how you can apply those in your business life going forward. So most everyone's told me they kind of work in the restaurant business, right? We're going to talk a lot about stadiums and arenas, movie theaters, zoos, but what we found is all the components are very similar to the hospitality industry anyway. And with what I call cross-pollination, in other words, stadiums are borrowing ideas from zoos, and zoos are borrowing ideas from convention centers, and movie theaters are kind of doing fast casual and alcohol now, and all of those things are starting to blend, and we're becoming almost like one unit on the food service side. Even places like McDonald's and Wendy's are now offering health-conscious salads and smoothies and even coffees and so forth and so on, like Starbucks. So we're all kind of merging what our practices are. So the first one is going to be about you and kind of perfecting what your strengths and weaknesses are and teaching you how to set goals. Okay, so that's the first 3 weeks. Then we're going to move into more or less accounting. So we're going to talk about profit planning and how do we build a budget to go with our particular business so that when you leave this class, you're going to be able to talk to anybody, any professional, pretty wisely about how to forecast sales, how to forecast cost, how to forecast labor expenses, how to look at direct expenses, what the return on investment is if you go into a business. So this is the 6th time I've taught this particular class, 6th semester, and typically each class I've got a manager from one of the restaurants here in the city in the class. Somebody's either assistant manager or manager, or they're looking for a management position. When you leave this class, if you come to class and you participate, which I expect you will, you're going to be able to have legitimate business conversations with your peers and the people who may want to hire you, which is you're going to have so much more ahead of the game than most of your friends or other students that are out there applying for jobs. You'll be amazed. You'll do well. All right, the next section will be on event planning. In event planning, what we're really going to do, again, we're going to stick mostly with the accounting side, but we're going to take the master plan, profit planning, and we're going to break it down into a single event. So we're going to take the same properties, but then we're going to figure out how to plan one particular event. After that, we're going to talk about cost controls, and we're going to talk about what it takes to manage a business and keep control of the expenses so they don't get out of hand. Then after that, the very last 2 weeks of class, we'll talk about what the menus look like in this area of business, and then promotional activities and so forth and so on. The class itself is going to be broken up into 3 50-minute sessions. Are you glad to hear that? Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to lecture, talk, discuss the different aspects for about 50 minutes. I'm going to give you a 10-minute break. I want you to get up, go outside, get fresh air, come back in. Is that cool? Then we're going to talk about 50 minutes, and you're going to get up and you're going to go outside. You're going to get fresh air, soda, I don't care. And you're welcome to have snacks in here as well, or sodas, coffee. I want you to be comfortable. I want you to look forward to coming to class. Now, one of the other things that I typically do, Ashik will tell you, is I'm going to bribe you to come every Friday. Okay? That's why I asked how many of you have heard about this class. Because typically what I'll do is, have you got your cup? I'm going to bring you souvenirs. Okay, I'm going to bring candy. So you'll help me be a focus group. If there are new items that are out in the marketplace, I'd like to see what you think about it, and then we'll discuss it on its pluses and minuses and what its value might be, or lack of value. Now, I try each Friday to bring some sort of food item because I want you guys to feel comfortable with this arena of work. So, for example, if one of you gets a job and you end up working at the Memphis Zoo, for example, do you know how to make popcorn?
I think I do.
You see what if you had to make cotton candy? So here you are, you graduate, you get this certification from the National Association of Concessionaires, and you don't even know how to turn a popcorn machine on. Or you don't know the difference between Nacho Supreme and just regular nachos. Or you don't understand value propositions. What makes something look more valuable than it actually is. That make sense? So each week we'll try to do one of those things. All right. All right, so in your particular case, you missed the first part. Do you want to show her, Marley, how to do her little name tag?
Yeah, she got
Oh, she did it?
already.
Oh, okay, I can't see it from back here. Okay. Oh, yeah, very good, very good. Very good. Caroline. All right.
Caroline, what are you?
All right, any questions at this point? All right, have any of you been on the shell yet? Have you gone to eLearn and looked at the class? No. Okay. How many of you have University of Memphis email address? Did you see my email I sent you?
I think. When?
About a week and a half, well, at least a week ago, maybe last Friday or something.
Yes, I think I did. For some reason, I don't know if it's anybody else's, but a lot of my stuff has been going to my clutter lately.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. I want you to be sure that you go to the shell each week because the entire lesson will be posted on the shell. Okay? The primary reason I sent that information is because this is the textbook you're going to need to get. So I'm going to tell you 2 different ways or 3 different ways you can get this textbook. You will not be able to do well in this class if you do not have this textbook. If you get the textbook and you read the chapter prior to me talking or even after I talk, you're going to do really well because everything is based off of the information that's inside this textbook. So this textbook is at the bookstore. You can buy it at the bookstore. A lot of people like to take a picture of the book so when they get there, they'll have it. So maybe at the break, if you want to take a picture, you're more than welcome to take a photo. You can also get it online on Amazon.com. And I would tell you that it's also available on Kindle or Nook, but that's electronically. In this class, I really need you to have the book so that you can refer to the practices because there are a lot of formulas and forms in the book that you're going to have to use to be prepared for the examination. So here's one of the benefits. Not only are you going to get 3 hours credit, but as you take this class, I'm going to prepare you to take the certification exam. So very much like a nursing student, they graduate from school, right? 3.50 grade point average. They still have to take state boards. Attorneys have to take board exams or certification exams. Doctors have to take medical board exams. You're going to be very, very elite when you finish this class because less than 1,000 people across the world get certified. Now, last class we had 12. I think of the 12, 8 got certification. Okay. So Ashik will be more than happy to help you if you have any questions, but he'll also give you this advice. If you come to class and you do what I ask you to do, you will not fail. Okay? If you don't come to class, you don't participate, you're on your own. Fair enough? Okay. Any questions for me? Not yet? Good.
Is it just us 5?
There's supposed to be
No,
7.
another 2.
So we're missing 2 more.
Well, it's still small.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be what I call intimate. You're not going to be able to fall asleep during class. There's only a couple of you here. Yeah. How many classes do you have that are less than this?
I mean, I feel like most of the classes in this school are pretty small most of the time. So, I mean, this is nothing new, really.
Especially the higher up you get, in
Yeah.
the senior level
Yeah.
classes.
Yeah, people start to.
I don't walk into a classroom without knowing at least half of the people.
Oh, really?
So
Oh, very
that's
good.
nice,
Yeah.
And I feel like this is kind of small
Yeah.
for, sorry, I was in a rush this morning. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't bother me.
Okay. Well, the reason I want you to go to the Shell, and evidently somebody's gone to the Shell because they have the syllabus.
Is that a link off of
Do you mean the
eCourseWare?
course?
eCourseWare, that's what I'm talking about.
So the shell is.
Yeah. So when I refer to the Shell, I'm talking about
I was thinking
eCourseWare.
shell at first, I was like, yeah.
Yeah, over to, yeah, you've been to the zoo. Okay, I got it. I'm sorry.
with you.
Let me, and that's what's good about sort of my teaching practices. You have questions, ask, because I'm happy to help. And a lot of times, my vocabulary doesn't match with your vocabulary. If you notice, my hair is white, your hair is dark brown. Okay? There's a reason for that. Different generations, different languages, different vocabulary. Typically, if you'll go to eCourseWare and look up the class, each week the class itself will be posted. There'll be a video. So if you want to go back and have questions about what I said, or if you want to study for the exam, you can just page through that pretty quickly because you'll see everything that we're going to talk about again. The online students, that's the only way they're going to get the information, is go to eCourseWare and then they look at each one of the principles. In this particular scenario or syllabus, there's a schedule that we're going to try to maintain so that we kind of stay on track. If there are some issues, weather for example, or others, and we can't meet, we might fall behind a little bit. I'm going to give you a couple of projects throughout the year. So you might want to start thinking about doing those very soon. But at the end of the year, each and every one of you will be required to do a business plan for a fictitious recreational food service facility. So you're going to make up your own. We had one did Edinburgh Castle. We had someone did the Monster Truck Show. We had someone do, they actually used, I think, the Liberty Bowl Stadium, but they changed the name. You'll learn what I want you to do, and I will bring examples of what the students have done in the past, so you'll see. Okay? But you're going to write your own business plan. That's going to be a semester project. You don't turn that in, you're going to have a really hard time passing this class. Okay? One of the other things I'm going to ask you to do is I want you to visit at least 5 different facilities that are like recreational facilities. And I want you to tell me how long it takes for you to get served. In other words, you're going to measure what we call transaction times. One of the principles in this industry you're going to see throughout the semester is speed of service. That's what differentiates this channel of business versus all other food service. So if you go to McDonald's, for example, you know you're going to stand in line and it may take 2 or 3 minutes. It's not a big deal. If you go to Hog and Hominy, for example, you know that the average time to have a meal is about, 45 minutes to an hour, depending on if you have appetizers and salads and entrees and cocktails and so forth and so on. What do you think the average transaction time should be in this business? What'd you say? A minute?
Yeah.
Or minutes?
Minutes. Within
Minutes. What do you think?
I think it just should be as like minimal as possible, so it doesn't take away from the activity that you're there to partake in.
Yeah.
Whether it's
So
a
you
show-
said the most important thing. What you're going to learn about this industry is no one goes to the movie theater for a $6 popcorn. Nobody goes to the University of Memphis basketball game to pay $5 for a bottle of water, right? They go for the event. Typically, they don't want to stand in line waiting for food. And if the line gets to be more than 5 or 6, people will go straight to their seats. And so our business on the food service side, okay, is wholly dependent on how fast we serve people. So your project is to visit 5 different facilities. In this particular case, this is Charles. He was one of my best students last semester. Do y'all know Charles? Marzinski?
Maybe if we saw.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think he graduated in December. His whole reason for taking the class was he wanted the certification. But he went to the Bridgestone Arena. He happened to go to, I think it was a hockey game or something in Nashville. So while he was there, he stood in line. He was ordering one beer, okay? It took 10 minutes. There were 5 people in line in front of him. What's the transaction average?
2 minutes per person.
Yeah, how'd you get that?
Divide 10 by 5.
Good. I like you already. You got common sense. You're ahead of the game. He went to Nissan Stadium. He went to watch the Tennessee Titans play. So he had a popcorn, a beer, an order of chicken tenders and fries, 8 minutes, 3 people in line, 2.5 minutes. FedEx Forum, 1 popcorn, 1 beer, 20 minutes, 5 people in line, took 4 minutes per transaction. 20 minutes to get a popcorn and a beer. Have we noticed anything kind of similar in all of his orders? Beer. Yeah, Charles was a beer guy. Yeah. Yeah. Every class he wore a different hat. I could never figure who his loyal team was, but no. So I want you to do the same thing. The reason I brought this is so you can see how I want you to set it up. In other words, it's an Excel file and he has a column. Now the one thing he didn't do that I'd like him to do, or like you to do, is put the date. Now, here's what happens. 9 out of 10 students wait till the last week and say, oh crap, I haven't done this, okay? And then they go to the movie theater or something, and then they make up a bunch of stuff and they fill it out. We can all fake life experiences. You're going to be better off in this industry because a lot of you may get a job at a resort, okay? And one of your jobs may be to supervise beach service or pool service. And how long do people typically like to wait for their cocktails or sandwich or whatever in those kind of environments? They're going to be there for a little while, right? But they might be transient. So if you're in beach service, they may go out to the ocean, kind of wait around a little bit, and then you bring the food out, and what happens now? It's cold, or the ice is melting, or whatever. So there are a lot of similarities to what we're going to end up doing in hospitality and in recreational food service. So up on the screen I have, I like to start the class. We're going to have PowerPoint, book, lecture. You're going to get to see things 3 times. They say that the typical students will learn in one of 3 different ways. One is seeing, one is hearing, one is by either writing, okay, or reading, okay? In this particular case, I'm going to try to combine all of those for you. The other piece that they tell you is that good instructors do not teach how to do things. They teach you why you do things. So Ashik will tell you that for the next 14 weeks, I will ask you each class probably 4 to 5 times, why? 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 And you'll figure it out by the end. As did Charles did. Charles was pretty good, wasn't he? He figured out the questions. All right. Today is a good day for a good day. See, I think everything starts with attitude. You come in with a great attitude, you've got half of the job already done because you're now going to be willing to activate the practices that you already have. So you're going to find out that we're going to talk in a few minutes about assets. You're probably really good at some things, right? You're probably not so good at some things, right? I have a series of books because I think that the books themselves authenticate what I'm talking about. For example, this book right here is called Strength Finders. Anybody seen this book before? I'd highly recommend you read it. All right? The book itself, for you students who like to read, unfortunately is only about 30 pages long. Okay? That's the book. In the back of the book, there's a survey, and you're going to go online, and you're going to take that survey, almost like a personality test. Right? And what it's going to do is it's going to tell you what your 5 strengths are. Now, why is that important? Why do you need to know what your strengths are?
So you know what your weaknesses are.
Well, you need to know your weaknesses too. I'm going to agree with you, okay? But why do you need to know what your strengths are? Anybody know who Peyton Manning is? Yeah. What does Peyton Manning do, Carol?
He's a football player.
Football player, yeah. What position does he play, Kevin?
Quarterback.
Quarterback, yeah. What do you think his strength should be?
Good arm.
Good arm. Who said that? Yeah. Why? Why does he need a good arm?
Because to be a quarterback, you gotta know how to throw.
Got to throw the football, right? What else?
Leadership.
What's that?
Leadership.
Leadership. That's a good strength. What does a quarterback have to know?
Plays.
Plays. What does a quarterback have to know?
How to like match the play with like.
Does he have to know how to tackle?
No.
Should he practice intercepting footballs?
No.
Why?
Because he's throwing the football, he's not catching it.
Well, ask Marcus Mariota that question.
I mean, it's probably still important. It's still important for,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, I would say,
I jokingly say that early in his career he shouldn't practice tackling, but later in his career when he would throw 3 or 4 interceptions a game, he should learn how to tackle the guy he just threw it to.
Yeah.
That's kind of a joke. But in reality, this book right here tells you, do what you do best. Let the other people cover your weaknesses. Early in my career, I told you I was working at, it was called Midland Food Services, and we were managing arenas and the zoo and fairgrounds and stadiums. And I was in operations, but at some point I thought I would want to be the president of the organization. And one of my weaknesses was I didn't understand finance real well. So I went to the chief financial officer and I said, I think I want to go back to the University of Memphis and get my degree in, my master's in finance. And he said, don't waste your time. I said, what do you mean? That didn't sound right, right? Continuing education, master's degree in finance. He said, Larry, you excel in operations. You do a really good job managing people and achieving results. Leave the finance to the finance people. Hire me when you get to be president, and I'll run the finance department for you. That make sense? So kind of the same thing. You need to find what you're good at. If you're good with personality, you need to be front of the house kind of people. If you don't like people, find a job in the back of the house. Make sense? So that's what this book talks about. That's why I think attitude is so important. Today is a good day for a good day. How good will you be? We kind of talked a little bit about the format of the class. Here I am, the instructor. Our overall goal, of course, is to get 3 hours in a 4.0, right? You're all going to get A's, right? So here you are, the student. I've already told you about the book. And then this is the actual program or process that we're going to go through. All of this together will achieve that particular goal of getting certification. The very first thing that we're going to discuss is management by POA. It's a philosophy. There are different types of management philosophies out there. You'll have to adopt the one that fits you best. I've adopted this for this class because I think it's the most meaningful. But POA really stands for planning, organization, and then action. And if you look at this diagram, what you're looking at in the very center is the objective. What's our objective in this business? Rachel, what is our objective in this business?
to serve people.
Serve people. Excellent. Service. Excellent service could be one of our goals or objectives. What's another one, Carolyn?
Make money.
Make money. Finance. Excellent. You guys, you hadn't even gotten the book yet, and you've already answered the next question on the next slide. Slide coming up. Typically, we have 2 objectives in this industry. One is finance and one is service. But in this particular case, you start with a goal or a target. Then you create a plan. And we're going to talk about planning here in a little bit. After we create the plan, we organize it. In other words, we may make an organizational chart for labor. We decide who's responsible for what. Then we're going to take action. The action itself revolves around leading, controlling, staffing. Staffing, leading, controlling. It's a complete circle. It continually rotates. So I want you to remember this. Now, from time to time, I might say something like this. You might want to write this down. It might be on the test. What's that mean to you, Kevin?
Write it down.
What does that mean to you, Marley?
Write it down.
Write it down. What does that mean? Nobody's gotten the answer yet.
It means it's gonna be on the test.
It means it's going to be on the test. Thank you.
So write it down.
So write it down. This would be an easy way to study. So management by POA is a philosophy of management. As with all philosophy, its value is only inherent to what the followers believe strongly in the concept and the theories. So if you believe in planning, organizing your plan, then taking action, this is the right philosophy for you. POA as a philosophy can assist food service managers in achieving their personal and company goals. And the precepts are very simple. The ideas are very simple. Establish the objective, which I just talked about, then write your plan, organize it, and then take action. And if you do that, you're going to be very successful. So, what are you trying to manage better? You might want to write this down. Management, in and of itself, is accomplishment. Now, this is why it was kind of important for you guys to get your book before you come to class. And that's why I sent that email out. Everything that's on these slides is in the book. So if you had a highlighter, you could kind of follow along and just sort of highlight some of the aspects, and you might not have to write quite as much. I'm on page 18 right now. Management is accomplishment. All right. Besides the noble art of getting things done, there's the noble art of leaving things undone. The wisdom of life lies in eliminating the non-essentials. There's a book out called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. Have you read that book? It's kind of fun. It's a good book. But again, it says place priorities on the things that are important. Let the other things kind of go away. And sometime later in class today, we're going to start to write, I'm going to teach you how to write goals. Setting priorities. What's important for me? Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. That was Henry Ford. Anybody know who Henry Ford is? Huh?
A former president?
No.
No.
We had-
Oh,
we-
wait. Ford cars.
Ford cars.
That's good.
Yeah, he started the Ford Motor Company. Attitude. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, that's exactly where you're going to end up. You're right. And then finally, when you choose a habit, you also choose the results of that habit. So if you choose to exercise, your heart is going to be healthy, you're going to be healthy, you're going to end up with the result of that habit of exercising. You choose to eat right, your health is going to be better. Blood pressure probably lower, you won't have diabetes, etc. All right. Typically we have more than, we're going to pass these out. Just 5 people in the class. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a little exercise here. This exercise, you're going to work in teams. So I'm going to ask the 3 of you in the front row to work together, and you 2 ladies in the back work together. And if you brought a highlighter, it's good. If you did not bring a highlighter, what I'm going to suggest you do is when you read this passage, you're going to read about Sam. Now, Sam happened to work for a particular facility, stadium, for about 5 years. And the general manager left and he got promoted. He's now the general manager of the organization. He does some things well, he does some things not quite so well. I want you to read the passage, and when you think he's doing something well, okay, I want you to circle it. If he's doing some things that need improvement, okay, I want you to underline that. Then what you're going to do as a group is you're going to get together and you're going to talk about Sam's assets, his strengths, Sam's weaknesses, and we're going to try to figure out how we can help Sam do a better job. Okay? Now at the very back of the exercise, there's a list here that says Sam's plans, what his problems are. That would almost like be cheating if you went to that first and didn't read it. Then you would know what his weaknesses were. So let's not do that first, okay?
So it's like underline weaknesses or circle?
Yeah, so what I would do, if I had highlighters, I might circle strengths, highlight weaknesses, but if you don't have a highlight, then just draw a line. Okay? We're gonna take about 15 minutes to do this. How are you? That's it. Yeah. You're here. This is my name. This is who I am. And what I'd like you to do is put your name here. That way I'll take over right here. Sharon? Is that correct? Sharon? What we're doing right now is we're reviewing this individual as a manager. So there's a story in here. I want you to read the story. Things that you think he does very well, I want you to circle. Things you don't think he does very well, underline. And then I might ask you to get these things right here, and we're gonna create a team. And your team is going to discuss some of the attributes and some of the weaknesses of Sam. How we doing? So every team needs a captain. Who's the captain of your team? I don't know what that means. What is that?
Nose goes.
Oh, nose goes? Okay. So there you go. I learned something today. Nose goes. What that means is you're gonna kind of lead the discussion, and then I'm gonna ask you what your thoughts were as a group, and then we'll start to list some of these things.
Okay.
Okay?
Hello, so we use this.
They kind of like a different color. They're quite better. A lot better.
I just circle the whole thing.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, there's a lot of mismanagement and not prioritizing, and consolidation. Yeah.
Kevin, you're allowed to move down there.
I was about to,
Yeah,
I was about to scoot down.
Sounds like you don't have a good team under this one.
I think the only good thing that he did was, administering and delivering the chips alcohol.
Yeah. He's got good experience, you know, like he worked his way up through the company, so I feel like he should have better insight of what's going on. Yeah, he doesn't.
It seems like he hasn't spent any time that are working for this thing.
Yeah. Definitely. Staff is not on top of it. He's just putting out fires all the time, getting more done. Especially about, what was it, moving the cash thing with
Yeah.
them. And then being like, oh, it's too hot. I'm not doing that. Sucks. It really does. So I have a lot of confidence, it sounds like, in his feelings. There's not a lot of step consolidation. And that's not like getting these all things in one area done and then the other area, like physical areas and vendors, doing things or whatever. He had a good game plan going, but he did not follow through. a lot, mismanaged,
I
and
could get there, but then I just don't do it. It's like,
This
you
thing,
know what
this
you need to
personnel,
do.
Yeah.
which led to all those problems.
yeah,
Sorry,
if you
Caroline,
don't
you're
have a
up,
good, if you don't have a good team, you're not gonna.
Sharon?
They're just lacking.
It's exactly what you want. Like at the events, is it just putting out fires
What
or
if
is
you
he?
need to be the captain?
Those ones.
Those guys.
He said nose goes, but I'll be captain. No worries. Got you covered.
Okay, so if you will, lead the discussion.
Okay.
Time spent talking is a real problem for me.
You guys go over real quick.
Okay.
Okay, well,
Sean, have you read?
It's kind of weird.
Just gonna do it. It's basically these two managers just like having a discussion on their problems and the
But you have to talk about work stuff, not
his
talking
problems, like he
about
knows what he needs to do.
someone's wife.
yeah, he helped that, he helped them,
Didn't I
like,
notice that
Three
already?
hours.
he's 3 days doing his medical arrangements over here. He's spending 3 hours on his supervisors and medical arrangements, and then helping care for his children for 3 days, it's not long 3 days.
But these are the most important people to your job.
It does.
That's the thing about being in customer service.
There's a problem. It's good that he's helping his employees, like,
Yeah.
obviously cares, but isn't organized.
Cares too
A lot of
much.
his
Should be like, oh my God,
duties
I'm
to
sorry,
his
that's
staff. He
I'll
has
give you
like
some
a
time to
taken
do
away
it,
from
but I
his-
need to go do something else.
Yeah, you have to take care of your
And
own
the
business.
people that he's babysitting, he's like spending all his time babysitting.
And then has
versus
that's on
doing his
meetings.
job. So it feels like all these people
Oh, we have all these meetings and
and the
I can't do this, give me all the
being
highlights.
productive.
That's your job.
Yeah.
You're supposed to go to those meetings.
It seems he feels unnecessary,
Like he's in.
but everything would fall apart,
Especially for me, especially on personal
there,
loans
his power board,
or,
there's all kinds of that stuff.
he's saying that these are. And like, the scheduled meetings or anything like that.
That's the thing he did do good,
Tearing
is
the
get a
day
long
apart.
drawn out conversation with the guy and put a disciplinary
Between
note in his
meetings,
file.
paperwork, and interruptions.
Sure did.
That's good.
It just
Just a
seems like that's
disciplinary
been any
note.
time on a bit than or
Yeah.
evaluation. So.
But he also went back.
He has personnel issues.
Yeah, and I just think, like you said earlier, the main thing is that
Yeah, he went back and found
I just think he's
the
really
problem.
good. And he's not, he's doing all this stuff.
I don't think his people respect him.
Meaning to do this, this and that, so.
Yes,
He's lacking in leadership.
Yeah, I didn't find
Yeah.
it strange.
Give me the back.
I found
did.
it.
First one, Don, you, the same thing. When I was first promoted to the arena, there were units where they would work at a separate arena, like opposite park. You know, feel like that's like underage, a manager, and so they're just like discussing issues of their jobs together. And, Don was saying, he was like, when I was first promoted, and I couldn't get out of my district.
Yep, here they are, here's all
And now
his,
they're just
his
being
fault.
Oh,
you're getting us right here.
Different members and members, and I feel if the temporary workers know the person, it's easier for them to understand what I expect from them. And there's also issues of supervising, especially with money. And a lot of, he was saying that the drain in the cash room would be like unlocked all day and unattended.
An hour later.
So, there's issue, you know, we were told the staff to not do that, and the next night, the same thing has happened. That happened, like, well, it's hot, doesn't matter. And so he's spending all his time doing like disciplinary actions, like, he's playing defense instead of offense. It's fun.
All right, are we ready to discuss Sam and his attributes? You want to turn that around here?
Or lack
Yeah.
of.
Or lacking of? What do I do with the green pen? There it is. I like to use a dark marker. All right. Who wants to go first?
I'll be Chris.
Okay, tell us what you think.
So,
Let's talk about his strengths first.
okay, our group discussed, and his strengths are, we thought one of them was that at least he went in with a plan. He was like trying to make a forward effort when he got promoted and said he was going in with, like, he wanted to spend his time training, and, but now he can't keep up with that.
Okay, so you're gonna report that he went in with a plan. What was his plan?
But he wanted to spend time with members and training.
So he wanted to, okay, I'm gonna say, he had a plan. I'm gonna argue with you on that one. But it's good that you think he has a plan. You wanna counterpoint, or do you wanna?
Oh, no, I was gonna identify
You want-
their strength.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
let's
I
let,
mean-
let's let this
Okay.
team go first, and then whatever they don't pick out, you can tell us what he did.
Okay.
What else?
He tried to get to know his employees on a personal level.
Is that a strength or a weakness?
I think it would be a strength. You gotta know your people if you're gonna manage them.
Okay. Specifically picked this pen because it would write. Okay. What's another strength?
He disciplined his employee when they left the cash office open.
So he was a good disciplinarian?
Yes.
In that instant, at least.
Yeah.
He's got a good background. Yeah.
Okay. He's got a good background. You want to say he's experienced?
I don't know if I would say experience, but he definitely worked his way up,
Okay.
so that at least shows determination or.
Okay, determination. He's determined. What else?
That's really all I think.
Okay. Reminds me to turn my phone off. All right, ladies.
One of the ones that I picked up was that, I mean, he's loyal. He worked for a company.
I would
for
say
5
more
years.
loyal than determined, but we'll put loyal down, okay? I like that.
Other than that,
His evaluation skills are strong. Like, he's able to accurately identify the problems.
Okay? It's always interesting to do these classes, because every group comes up with different sort of formations of what they think about Sam, okay? So you guys are very unique in the way you're describing some of his strengths. Much different than many of the other classes, which is a good thing, okay? What else? Anything else?
He is goal-oriented. That is what is bringing a lot of his frustration, because he feels like he's having to deal with all these, like, personal issues with his employees, and that's taking away from,
You think he's goal-oriented?
like, taking away from his duties as the event manager.
Okay. He's a stadium manager, right?
Right.
Okay. Yes?
I think when he find a problem, he will do something to solve it as soon as possible, I think.
Yeah. So are you saying that what he's done is he's identified that he's got some issues and he needs some professional help? Is that what you're saying, Sharon?
I just
Or are you
think-
saying he found a specific instant? Because we're gonna go through some of these things and we're gonna talk about whether it's really good management style or maybe he needs some help.
Yeah, I think there's, let me check that, there were, implementation,
Implementation?
I think that
Okay.
is-
I hope I'm spelling this right. Implementation, he's able to implement things. All right. Let's move to his weaknesses.
I think his number one weakness is his bad attitude.
Bad attitude.
He gets really bogged down with his negative stuff going on instead of looking forward.
Okay. We're gonna come back to that one. What else?
Bad at time management.
Terrible at time management. That's very good. Now you're right on target.
Prioritizing.
He doesn't know how to set priorities. That's good. What else?
His team doesn't have a lot of respect for him, and they're not.
He hasn't earned the respect of his team. Can you give me an example?
Like when the cash thing was left open and he told them to close it, and they were just like, no. And they left it open again.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So you've given me some assets over here. Okay? But the cash room, for example, what was the problem with the cash room?
It was hot.
It was hot. How do you solve the problem?
Get a fan.
Get a fan or some air. They'll keep the door closed. As a manager, and I'm going to talk to you guys as if you're going to be managers next year, okay? As a manager, if you see the problem, okay, he didn't identify the problem. The problem was no circulation, no fresh air, okay? If he knew there was no fresh air, you put a fan in or a vent and the door stays closed and you have security. But you can't ask people to work in a room that's 110 degrees and expect them not to find a solution, right? So when you told me he could identify problems, this is where I would debate that with you. He had a problem. He knew he had a problem. Matter of fact, I think the story, he knows he's got a lot of problems, right? But he doesn't have the right solution. Okay, what else? So you said he didn't earn the respect of his employees.
He actually says time spent talking is a real problem for me.
Yeah, so what does that say to you?
He spends time doing less important things that could, or,
Well, we kind of said this right here. He has a problem with time management,
yeah.
right? And he has a problem with time management, in my opinion, because he doesn't have a plan and he's not organized. He just kind of rambles, right? I'll put rambles. And it's not just with language. It's everything he does, right? He never seems to have a set schedule for himself. He comes in, and I think Sharon said, all he does is put out fires. Right? Okay, what else?
He doesn't seem to be much of a team player.
Okay, describe that for
He
me.
doesn't like feel that his presence is necessary at the manager meetings. I thought that was pretty weird.
Yeah.
That
Well,
he didn't think that he would be like.
Why did he not go to the managers' meetings?
Well, he does go.
Right.
He's like, I don't think that I should have to go because they can just tell me what they talk about.
Thinks everyone's wasting his time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
so,
doesn't think that the things that they're talking about are important
yeah.
for him to know.
Okay, so he didn't respect communication. No communication. Okay, that kind of goes back to the cash room, doesn't it? What else?
I think that he, oh, where we still?
We can make it a group discussion.
Okay. I'm
Where-
done.
Normally, I would have, so what I didn't tell you is I teach these classes all over the world. And the classes sometimes will range from 15 to 85 people in the class. Normally, it's about 18 to 20. So when I break you guys down, we end up with 6 or 7 sets of groups. And everybody has a different sort of vision, and we get to share that way, okay? In this particular class, we only have 6 so far, so we might as well just be one group,
Yeah.
okay? All right, so go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that he has an issue with accountability. It seems like he's placing a lot of the blame on his employees and other people, whereas I think that he should kind of step back and be like, okay, well, clearly I'm not doing something right.
Yep.
So that's affecting my employees' performance. So, like I said, I just think he struggles with accountability and admitting that like,
I'm gonna put places blame, lacks responsibility. That's a good one. I like that one. It's kind of a big picture thing. Yeah. What else?
He's combating problems instead of preventing them. So he's like.
I'm gonna call him, I'm gonna say he's a fireman.
Right.
Do you know what a fireman is?
You just put out fires, they
Yeah.
prevent them from happening.
Right. What you're gonna see in the next 50 minutes is that great managers, okay, are able to have a plan in advance. They're able to communicate that plan with the team. They assign responsibility, and then they review their work. Okay? In this particular case, that's proactive. Sam is not proactive. He's reactive. Every time there's an issue, he tries to handle it. Okay? What else?
I mean, I guess if you could put, he just seems very negative. I guess you could put that in, like, bad attitude.
Okay.
But,
You think he's negative?
He doesn't seem to like the position he's in at all.
Why do you think he doesn't like the position?
He's not good at it.
because he's
Yeah.
not getting the results that he wants, maybe.
Yeah, he lacks control. Why does he lack control?
He doesn't have- His employees don't respect him, and he doesn't know what he's.
See, a lot of
doing.
times people say that one of his strengths is he has experience, right? I think determined was better, okay? But he worked for the company for 5 years, right? He's 28 years old. How many different positions did he have?
Like 3 or 4.
I thought he had one. Wasn't he in charge of like
He
vending?
was worker in concessions, and he was a warehouse supervisor.
Warehouse supervisor.
And then he had some experience in the novelty and souvenir
Okay.
warehouse.
Yeah. So he was a concession worker, worked in the warehouse, and knew something about novelties.
So he's only had one supervisor position. So as far as like delegating goes, his communication.
He really
skills
wasn't
are not-
experienced for the job. He was loyal, been there 5 years, willing to stay with the company, determined, but he really didn't have the experience to put.
Sometimes with loyalty comes complacency. Like, I just stay because I've always been here.
Yeah,
Not a
and
lot
nobody's
of
challenged me.
self-motivation.
I had a, yeah.
Right.
Like,
I think he does have a little bit of motivation. We'll talk about that
just don't know what to
later
do.
in this module, but yeah. But he's more of a fireman. He's putting out fires. He's not proactive and looking at solutions and creating opportunities. What else? You guys haven't talked at all about how he was helping the employee with their health problems and taking them to the hospital.
Yeah, that was really weird.
Yeah. Why have you not talked about that?
It's good that he cares, but he's obviously spending way too much time on it.
Yeah, so I think that maybe we could say that one of his strengths is he's empathetic.
There's
Right.
a lack of boundaries.
He's empathetic, but what? Maybe the negative to that would be that maybe he's too personal with his employees. So, right here you said knows his people. Okay, you said that's a strength. That can be a strength, but I think in this description, in this story, he's not so much knows his people, okay? I think he gets too personal and gets involved in their personal activities. I think it's helpful to describe the health insurance benefits and where the hospital is. And if it's an emergency, somebody gets a bad gash on their leg and you can get to the hospital faster than an ambulance. Maybe that's helpful, okay? But to spend 3 days with somebody and going over and over and over again, that's not what his job really should be, right? He's not there to babysit people, I don't think. What else? Typically, when I do this, we would end up with about 3 strengths, and we'd end up with about 14 not so much. So I'm kind of surprised, because I think each one of you, when I hear your discussion, I hear you talk about what he lacks. And I think the underlying piece is that, A, he referred to a friend, right? Didn't he go to one of his buddies and say, Phil, what do you think about this, and how can I... And did you ever compare and contrast Phil versus Sam? Wasn't his buddy pretty much under control, and he had plenty of time, and he got to go on vacation, and all these other things, and what was Sam doing? Struggling, yeah. So I think one of his strengths that we didn't mention is he reached out for help, okay? Which is a good sign. And I'll tell you that every manager should never be afraid to reach out for help. I would say that all the managers that I've had, worked with, the biggest problem is people are afraid to talk to their bosses about their problems, okay? So, hey, I'm not very good at doing inventory. I need somebody to help me with inventory. I'm not very good with handling guest complaints. Can we let somebody else take over that department and let me focus on getting the food out of the kitchen or something like that? Does that make sense? So that's why we're going to talk in this next section about what your prevailing values are and what you think your strengths are. And that's why I highly recommend that book. Because I thought when I did that, I thought my strengths, okay, were over here. So for example, I thought that I was an achiever because I'm very results oriented. I look at, actually helped me with the project this summer, but I look at numbers and why are we selling this particular candy, and why are soda sales so high over here, and what are the dynamics of all the different menu items and how do they blend, right? So I'm very results oriented. I want the per capita income for our company to go up steadily, almost like the Dow Jones, okay, the stock market. So I'm very results oriented. So that's what I thought I was. Turns out that I'm an activator. What's an activator? Somebody that starts things. I like to start new projects. And so a lot of what happens with the movie industry or this particular entertainment industry is we like to start new, fun, entertaining things. One of the things that I believe in is harmony. That's one of my strengths. In other words, I don't like conflict. Some people do well with conflict. Me, not so much. You want me to do well, you're going to come to me and you're going to talk to me and you're going to say, look, this is how we can work this out. You're not going to come and say, you're a lousy instructor, you're not meeting my needs, and if you don't do it right, I'm going to Dean Palakirthi and we're going to get this fixed. Or you can come to me and you can say, I'm struggling a little bit, and your vocabulary doesn't meet my vocabulary, and I don't know what this means, and that kind of stuff, right? One of my strengths is learning. Imagine that. Here I am teaching classes and educating and those kinds of things. So I learned what my 5 strengths were, and I'd be doggone if they weren't right on. So I think you guys, if you're going to go forward in your careers, you're going to want to find a job that fits with your prevailing values and your strengths. Right? And you're going to be happy and you're going to grow. You don't want to be like Sam. Why was Sam, you said he had a bad attitude and he was negative. Why?
Because work was nothing but struggle.
Right, it was stress. He lived every day with stress. He didn't find his comfort zone. And that's where we have a tendency to go. We all have a tendency to find our comfort zone and we want to stay there. Now, you're not going to grow as a manager or a leader unless you take some risk and you push yourself out of that comfort zone and go forward. And that's kind of what Sam did at the end, right? He pushed himself out and he said, okay, here's a list of my problems, and this is what I'm going to do to kind of solve those problems. So what is he going to do to solve his problems? Did you have a list of things in there that towards the end, did he say after he talked with Phil?
He wanted to Sid, following the conversation with Donnie,
We want to start off with more training for the managers and group leaders.
Good. Yeah, so he's gonna help them learn their jobs better. What else?
He also wanted to develop a method to evaluate the performances of supervisors.
Good. What else?
poor time management.
Yeah, he was gonna take a time management class.
Take some responsibility.
He's gonna try to accept some responsibility. In other words, he went from being not so positive to maybe being a little bit more positive, which brings me to this book up here. Where's the one that says emotional intelligence? This is the new buzzword in business. Actually, it's almost an old buzzword because it's over 2 years old now. They say that we as human beings have two components. One is intellectual, and they call it the IQ, right? Intellectual quotient. The other one is your EQ, or your emotional quotient. The biggest problem young managers have is the emotional quotient. And Sam is the primary example. I have 2 kids. One graduated from the university here with a degree in finance, economics, a little more than a year ago. Yeah, so 16. I have a daughter who's a senior in nursing school here at the University of Memphis. My son, I like to use as a great example, very much like Sam. He worked for Malco for 7 years. Great employee. Okay, graduated from school, got a job with Nike out of the distribution plant. He's the director of food and beverage for the facility. Big job for a kid that's 20 years old, 22, 23. So, having said that, he's been placed in the same kind of position as Sam. All right? Good kid, good attitude, determined, wants to do well, has a lot of experience on kind of the recreational food service side, has a dad who's been in the hospitality industry forever, and so some of that stuff has rubbed off on him. But he still has to work with people that are 35, 40 years old. He has to work with executive chefs who have specific skill sets that he doesn't have, okay? And so he's having to learn, kind of like Sam is learning. So what they tell you about emotional intelligence is that typically you will find people like Eric or Sam who have all the education, they have a lot of work experience. They don't have the emotional component to handle groups of people who are doing groups or multiple types of things. So there's something about getting old and becoming a little more mature and gaining that emotional balance. We're going to talk about that when we talk about leadership. A really good book to describe the difference between how smart you can be. Last semester we had, y'all know Katie Oldheimer? Yeah. Yeah, she was telling us that she went to Lausanne and she got like a 32 on her ACT. Okay? Highly intelligent. Okay? Yeah. But she's going to enter the workforce and she doesn't have the work experience yet. All right. So, I've already violated the first rule. What was the first rule? What's that?
Katie works at the deli. I was talking about
Yeah.
how the deli will.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the first rule? You got it. 50 minutes. Yeah. So we kind of went over. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 10 minutes and then we'll come back. All right? And then I'll try to keep this a little shorter on the next